Good morning, guys. Today is the 17th of January 2021, and as per the BBC website, there have been 88,650 deaths linked to coronavirus. There's been 3.36 million cases, and it's getting a bit overwhelming, I think, for me at least anyway. So today's video about the mind is going to be in a different vein and very topical. I wanted to talk about how we as a nation, how me personally, how we can stay calm and carry on. So I want to try and talk about how we can best stay stress-free in this mad world and what we can do to stay positive. And I don't know about you, but things seem a little bit scarier this time. Maybe it's because the virus has come a little bit closer to home for me. I definitely took things serious the first time round during the lockdown, doing everything I could do to social distance. But this time, just before Christmas, my niece caught the virus. Thankfully, she's okay and only had relatively mild symptoms of body and fever, but she recovered. So I feel a little bit more worried about it, and I'm wondering if some of you guys feel the same. So I've come out here to film and put a bit more of a positive spin on things to try and keep things level, keep myself stress-free and worry-free. So I quickly thought to myself, right, let's make a video about 5 things I do and you can do to stay positive in this environment, to keep calm and carry on. Okay, so number 1. Now, the first thing I mentioned in the start of this video, I quoted some numbers that I got from the internet, and they're very stark, they're very worrying and concerning, and it's important to stay informed during a pandemic or crisis or anything, that concerns you or the country. So it's nice to stay in touch with the news, but I think I would advise that we limit our use or contact with the news or watching the news to maybe once a day, maybe only a couple times a week. Because personally, when I turn on the news, it's all doom and gloom at the minute. There's very little positive going on. And so to stay informed is important, but we all need to make sure that we're not worrying ourselves to the point that we're making ourselves stressed or anxious. So don't go on your phone all day updating the figures. Try not to visit the BBC website all the time seeing how close it is to your area or how many deaths have been in your area. That's quite morbid, and it's important, as I say, but I think you can get too informed and too worried about the details. So that's my first advice. Try and limit your use of social media and even watching the news, so traditional media, to once a day. And that should help your thoughts stay focused into what you're doing that day, which leads me on to my second point. And so my second piece of advice, or second point, is to have a routine. We're all creatures of habit, and I believe that we need some sort of habit or routine to keep going, because that's what we do as humans, right? So personally, myself and my wife are both working from home. So I would treat the day as if I was getting up and leaving the house and going to work. So I get up, I have a shower, I get Arthur ready, I have my breakfast, I get dressed for work. And I say these things because it's obvious, but I know it's all too easy nowadays when we work from home. We could probably just bung some clothes on and start work. But I think the physical act of getting up and preparing yourself mentally for work really helps keep you on a level and on a pair of rails to keep going. I mean, no one's actually going to see you or, well, smell you, but it's still good to have a shower, you know, brush your teeth and all these things that you would normally do, preparing yourself to leave the house, even though we're not really leaving the house. And I don't say this lightly, because I understand that keeping up a routine as best you did in the normal world, back when things weren't as challenging as they are today, it's going to be difficult, because I'm aware that there are things that do need to change. So you can't travel out the house just as and when you need to. You can't pop to the shops, really. Getting your children to school might even be an impossibility at the moment because they're all closed. So keeping a routine is important, but we also have to be slightly flexible with it, because if you're trying to keep to the routine exactly as it did before, that's going to make you even more stressed as well. So being a bit lenient with your routine is good, but keeping routine where possible. So for example, at lunchtime, me and my wife make a point of taking advantage of the fact that we're both in the same house, working together, and we'll go take the dog for a walk at lunch. You know, I talked before about taking a nature pill and getting outside, and how important it can be for your mental well-being and lowering stress. So adding small things to your day and keeping to the routine can really help that. So I set a reminder in my calendar to take lunch and to go take a break. Hi guys. That's it, yeah. I do some videos about mental health, and I'm doing a video about this coronavirus, really.
So you want a couple of examples of healthy people doing what they ought to?
Exactly what I would advise, 5 things to stay positive in this crazy environment. And one of them I talked about previously is getting outside for a walk.
Absolutely.
Whatever the weather, we say.
Whatever the weather.
Good on you.
Yeah, enjoy your walk, guys. And keeping up a routine also spreads itself out to leisure and exercise for myself. So you don't want to be too stringent with these things, because of course it's leisure, it's, you know, your downtime. But having, for me personally, I've downloaded an exercise regime, a program that tells me week 1 you do this, reps, sets, exercises, and having a program to stick to and knowing what I'm doing that day has encouraged me to stick to it, encouraged me to stay motivated, and allows me to dial it into my overall picture of the week. So having a routine in that sense has really helped me stay motivated, positive and healthy. And I could advise maybe something like that for yourself. But even if you're not into lifting weights, it's nice probably to say to yourself, okay, once a week, twice a week, I'll go out for a run on my lunch hour, and try and stick to that. Because again, the health benefits of getting outside and getting oxygen into your brain is almost limitless. My third point, which is to stay positive, personally, I try and celebrate the little wins. So I'm talking very little wins. So if you're having a bad day in general, or if you find it hard to stay on track, stay focused, stay motivated, how I trundle through that day is to celebrate the little wins. And I've applied this to days by weeks in the coronavirus lockdown period. So what's the little win for me? What do I mean by this? So the first one for me is like my morning coffee. It's hard to get out of bed. It's hard to get ready for work sometimes, especially when it's dark in the mornings in the winter. But I tell myself, right, if you get up, you're going to have that little coffee and it's going to be so good. So that's my first little win. It's my morning coffee. But this can be applied, you know, throughout the day to anything. It can be, you tell yourself, you know, I'm going to have that little snack at 11 o'clock, that little treat to reward me for doing a few hours work or getting X, Y done. The other small things that I try to celebrate my little wins are, I love Arthur's bath time routine, and knowing that I've got that at the end of the day to spend with him. The bath time and the story time. He is such a nice little boy at the moment, and he's really receptive to things we say, and he communicates back to us, and it's just, honestly, it's the best little time spent with him. and that's a highlight of my day, even though most days these days just seem the same, even weekends, especially when you have a child, because though they don't stop, so you can't stop, so things just keep going. But if you look forward to some of the things that you have to do, which I'm sad to say, you should probably look forward to every moment with your child, but just being real, some of it's hard, some of it's not that fun, but look forward to the little things that you do get to spend with him or them if you have a girl or more than one child, is great, and that's the sort of little win I'm talking about. It's not of any monetary value, but just personally to you really enjoy it. And I've just thought of another little win. Shortly after this, I've got to go do the food shop, which I do by myself. I don't bring the family. It's unsafe to do so at the minute. I have to wear a face mask, as you all know. You know the rigmarole, and I'm not really looking forward to it. But what I do is tell myself, that's a bit of time when you can put your AirPods in, your headphones in, and listen to an audiobook. So I'm celebrating a win doing something I don't really like doing. So I flipped it on its head. I look forward to that time now because it's a bit of time to myself where I listen to one of the audiobooks that I've got going on at the moment. So you can be creative, be a bit clever with it, turn something negative into a positive, and just try and celebrate those little wins just to get through the day. And so the fourth thing that I want to mention that is keeping me sane and keeping me going in this strange new world that we've all had to adjust to is keeping in touch. And by keeping in touch, I mean try your best, the best as you can, to speak to friends and family, the people that are close to you, because we're not physically able to see them or meet them. It doesn't mean we shouldn't stay in contact. Unfortunately, in this world where we have so much amazing technology, it does make it easier. So on a daily basis, almost at the minute, whilst I'm walking somewhere or walking the dog or exercising, I'll have my headphones in and I'm calling a friend of mine. No purpose, just to catch up, just to chin wag, just to talk about rubbish, as if you would when you were meeting up with your mates. And it's been very, very calming. It's nice to see them, even though I'm not seeing them. You can imagine them there, to speak to your mates. And all of my friends kind of live away from me now, so it wouldn't physically be possible to meet up locally, but it's important to do that, and I've really enjoyed it, and they've reciprocated, and they call me out of the blue, and it's always a nice highlight of the day to hear from a friendly voice and just hear from a friend and see how they're going. And then to add to that, I have made every effort where I can to use digital sources like FaceTime and WhatsApp to video call my family. We try and do group video calls, which isn't always possible. It always ends up normally being two of us because not everyone's available. But I've used WhatsApp and FaceTime at least once a day for the last few months, and I call my mum, Arthur's grandmother, or my granddad, his granddad, and it's important because they're missing his growth and development. They're not seeing him as much as they would in normal times. So yeah, try and use the technology we have to stay in contact. And even if you don't have anything to ask, you can just sit and just listen, to how their day is going. I've spoke about the importance of, sharing stories, and sharing is caring before. But that's really, really helped me during the last few months to stay calm and stay, carry on, because my family is super important to me, more than important than anything else, and I want to know that they're all happy and healthy, and I want them to know that I am as well. So stay in touch, use what we can to achieve that. And finally, point 5 is something, again, which might be common sense, but I want to put it out there. And it is to remain optimistic. It might feel at the moment like the country is crumbling around you, or the walls are caving in, or you're very overwhelmed with the whole situation. We're definitely in a slump. Things have never been worse in terms of coronavirus. But just remember that to stay positive and optimistic in this scenario is very powerful mentally as well as physically. And just remember that things will get better. I think having that notion and constantly reminding yourself, no matter how dreary and bleak the existence is at the moment, there's things in the pipeline that are happening. There's a vaccination which is being rolled out, and hopefully by summer 2021 we might see some normality again. I mean, it might not happen, but eventually things will get better and we'll get back to more of a normal existence. We all didn't think it would last this long, but keep reminding yourself that we have some of the best scientists in the world, we have the best National Health Service in the world. We're going to get there and we're going to do it. That's what I tell myself, because that is extremely important to remember, that there will be an end to it. And just like my experience with depression or anxiety, if you feel overwhelmed to the point where you feel it's inescapable, it's overbearing, it's suffocating, you can really, really become anxious and not yourself. But just like that, I got through that part of my life. There was a light at the end of the tunnel and things got better. So just like that, this is going to improve and we will see better days. Oh, it's cold outside, guys. So, to sum up, the 5 things that I suggest that we can all do to stay a little bit sane and on top of things in this crazy world are: the first thing is to stay informed with the news and the ongoings, but maybe only limit yourself to once or twice a day to media and social media. The second thing I suggest is to have a daily routine and try and stick to it as best you can, just to keep you going and keep you in a direction and level-headed and with some sort of purpose. The third thing is to celebrate the little wins in life, no matter how insignificant or silly they might seem on the surface. And those are the little things that keep you going. The fourth thing is to stay in touch with friends and family as best you can, using whatever you can. And the fifth and final thing is to remain optimistic and positive about this situation, because we all know deep down that it will get better. There will be brighter days ahead of us. And that's it for this video, guys. Remember, it's just my advice. You don't have to take it, but if you found any of it useful, consider giving the video a like. And if you didn't, and you didn't find any of it useful, then don't worry, because come back next time, you might find something of use to you in that video. But for now, stay happy and healthy, and I'll see you in the next video.